look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Oh, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper-Leitch. You are listening to the live broadcast of Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio. It is Wednesday, and on Wednesday we put a spotlight on all the amazing people in LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and usually my joint host is Peter Chris. But today we can't get the three-way call working with everybody on the Skype for some reason, so Peter's going to go off and enjoy his vacation today, and I'm going to do the interview with our guest today, Howard Woodridge. Howard, thank you for being on the big broadcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Good to be with you.
Sure, you missed you, Peter, but we'll make it a point to let people know that prohibition is a horrible failed policy, and we're not talking just about ending prohibition on marijuana. We want to end prohibition on all drugs. With that said, Howard is a lot like our marijuana lobbyist up on the Hill. And Howard's been busy, I'm sure, with many of the congressmen and senators and having discussions. And Howard, what's it look like up there? Is the war on drugs nearly over?
No. Short answer is no. I have many years. If you're talking all prohibitions at the federal level, we're probably 6, 8, 10 years out.
All right. Well, we keep seeing coming out of Washington how Obama says that this marijuana thing belongs in the hands of the states that are doing their own passing of legislation. And we see the DEA saying they're not going to arrest people in states now where medical marijuana and recreational use is available, and even asking the FDA to reschedule it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of cheerful news. Don't get me wrong. I mean, all of that you just mentioned, and of course, probably many listeners are aware that 6 weeks ago now, the House voted the first time ever to deny the DEA money to go chase sick people in the 34 states which have medical marijuana. So that was a very significant vote. It's the first ever. I went to my first victory party in 9 years of working here in the United States Congress. And so, yeah, it's the wind is at our back and growing stronger. However, the forces of prohibition, the dark side people, bringing out everything they have to slow us down, stop us. And so there's a lot of work yet to be done. I will tell you, if everything keeps going in a straight line, it will be at least 3 years before the Congress would take a vote to end federal prohibition for all marijuana. I mean, it's at least 3 years out if it continues going in a straight line.
Well, so there's no reason to get all excited and get hopeful about this Rand Paul thing that's going through Congress now, and all the moves.
No.
So even if our Congress members are doing things, we should just go, oh well, that's not going to be good enough for another 36 months to more.
Well, essentially, it doesn't mean stop making the phone calls. Keep the phone calls coming. Keep the emails coming to Congress, and make sure your representative, your senator, is on board with the ideas of more personal freedom and less federal government intrusion in state affairs. Keep those coming because they are changing votes as we speak. Keep the medical marijuana efforts going in your state from at least the Charlotte's Web CBD to full-blown medical marijuana. This is changing votes. I talked to Congressman Luetkemeyer of Missouri. He had always been against the marijuana prohibition, and then in the last vote, he switched. Why? His family had a personal conversion. He's seen God's medicine work effectively for a very close family member, and he switched. So keep those efforts coming, but I don't want anyone out there to think that it's a year or two away. Congressman Goodlatte runs the Judiciary Committee, and I had a small conversation with him about 2 months ago, and basically he ain't never going to change from what he feels today. And he's the chairman of the committee where the vote was first start, and he will not bring it up for a vote. So that's the way the world works here in the belly of the beast in Washington, D.C.
Wow. Well, what kind of positive things do you see going on there in Washington?
Well, lots of positive things, of course, starting at the top with President Obama's statement the other day about applying the 10th Amendment states' rights to marijuana in general, which allows Colorado and Washington and hopefully this fall Oregon and Alaska to open their stores. And of course, the hands-off policy that he's directed to the DEA. There's lots of sentencing reforms. You mentioned Congressman Rand Paul and then Cory Booker. I saw them the other day at basically a town hall meeting, and two guys they're talking like having a beer at the bar, and they are all in favor of many of the ideas that you and I and the audience are wanting to see change, from the sentencing reform to less federal intrusion in the affairs of the states, etc. So yeah, there's now the rescheduling is another. It sounds good on paper, but I've been doing this 17 years. I've seen this rodeo before, and they talk a good game, but to actually jump up and say, okay, we're going to make marijuana Schedule 3, I would advise not holding your breath. It would be at least a couple of years out. But they say it's all going in a straight line. It's all going our way. The forces of darkness, the Kevin Sabbaths of the world, are losing. Another example of that, I was at the United Nations on Monday at a planning session for a big every 10-year conference, and the people in the panel were saying that current policy isn't very effective, and certainly a total failure when it comes to stopping supply. And there's 100 people there. We're planning this major event in 2 years. And so I asked the question, I'm a co-founder of LEAP and experienced in this thing in terms of street cops. And has anyone ever done a study? If not, I urge the United Nations to do a study. What causes more pain, suffering, and death and crime? The use of drugs or their prohibition? And it was interesting because the moderator said, well, nobody's going to answer that question. And that's one of the problems we have, is nobody will ask the question, nobody will answer the question as to should we do a study to see which causes the most problems. Of course, every LEAP member, and I'm sure every member of the audience knows, that it is the prohibition of drugs which increases dramatically crime, death, disease, and probably drug use. But this is like in a Harry Potter movie. That's his name that can't be mentioned. The Lord Voldemort. People didn't want to say his name even, let alone talk about who he was and what he did. Well, that is the same mentality with the drug war. Nobody wants to talk about it. There is still a thundering, and I mean thundering silence about the drug war. Nobody wants to talk about it here in D.C.
Well, it sure seems to be a popular topic everywhere else then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the belly of the beast, Casper. This is inside the Beltway, and like the most used word around in Washington is hope. Well, I hope this will solve the problem. I hope this will make it better. I hope. It's the dumbest word in the English language, at least inside the Beltway. We all hope for world peace, but they say that they use the verb hope as opposed to I'm going to do this, this, and this, and therein lies the problem.
Okay.
Part of it, anyway.
So, what other progress do you see happening? I mean, are we going to see less dogs killed in SWAT team raids? Are we going to see less forfeitures? Are we going to see less problems with the imbalance of the arrest of minorities?
The short answer to that is no. Police forces around the country will continue arresting marijuana patients, marijuana users. in almost the same numbers, except in states like Colorado and Washington. Here in Maryland, well, I live in a suburb of Washington in Maryland. In 2 months, marijuana, 10 grams or less, goes to like a parking ticket, like they have it up in Massachusetts. So as states like Maryland, Massachusetts, and others continue to completely decriminalize marijuana, making it a civil infraction like a parking ticket, yes, you're seeing arrests, I think, went down for the very first time ever last year, and you'll see that continue slightly. But there's also news reports out of Kentucky and out of West Virginia that those sheriffs and chiefs of police are going after marijuana as much as they ever did. So the numbers are not going to drop like a stone. They'll just drop as the legislature is saying, you know what, this is just not worth our time. Another example, the prosecutor of Brooklyn, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, said last week that going forward he would not prosecute anyone for simple possession, meaning under an ounce. And the police officers are just screaming about what a terrible idea this is. Well, again, it's just these individual prosecutors. Philadelphia, same thing, the entire city of Philadelphia. The prosecutor said, I won't prosecute simple possession of marijuana. And the police officers who get the overtime to arrest these people 5 minutes before the end of their shift are screaming because they're going to lose a lot of money. Make no mistake, money is the mother's milk, which makes this building run. I'm right now in the one of the House office buildings called Longworth, and I see congressmen now coming down the hallway, and when they meet with my colleagues from the Sheriff's Association and FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, they talk about the money. Congressmen, do not cut the money, and that's what they care about. There you go.
Well, now, if people really want to make this conversation a primary topic with their legislative body, is that going to be almost a moot point the way it sounds like? Or because a lot of members of Congress, when they come home to their constituents, they talk the talk. I mean, we even hear Bill Clinton talking for Hillary because Hillary won't say it because she's going to run for office. But that
all right, that's a perfect example. Thank you. In Hillary's 600, 700-page book, not one word about marijuana. One of the most talked about things in America today. I mean, up and down the hallways of Congress, in the halls of the United Nations, they're talking about Colorado and legalization, and is it a good idea? I mean, everywhere except, in Hillary's book, are people talking about marijuana. And then she has, again, a thundering silence. She does not want to touch the issue because she thinks she will be hurt. And that's the same. I just had another congressman from Texas pass me. And again, they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to upset the police unions and say I'm soft on crime, soft on drugs, and they don't want to upset the pharmaceutical companies who make so much money selling pills, and they don't want to compete with God's green plant. This is reality in terms of the federal government. But what I urge you listeners to do, yes, continue going to those town hall meetings and confront your congressman, your senator, and say, look, I know I've got a cousin, I've got a niece, a nephew, and they've had to go to Colorado to get relief from the childhood epilepsy, and say, Congressman, why are you taking positions which hurt my little 3-year-old niece? That makes them very uncomfortable, and that's what you want to do, is make them uncomfortable to face a constituent who says, why do you want my niece to suffer? Why do you want my nephew to suffer? And that has an impact, and that helps the vote here in Congress when they come back and say, you know what, I don't want to face that kind of voter with that true story of suffering, and say, I'm part of the problem. And that's how you defeat the drug companies, is when you say, God's medicine, the green plant, is doing better than all the store-bought pills. So why, Congressman, are you opposed to letting God's medicine be available to his people? And that is hugely powerful.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It really speaks volumes. You're not kidding.
Mm-hmm.
So what else have you been up to? I mean, you've been a really busy trooper up there on the Hill.
Yeah, I've made about 3,000 plus presentations in the last 8 years.
Good golly. And you're up there now, aren't you, lobbying, talking to members of the Congress and the Senate?
Yeah, Congressman Nadler from New York, one of our big supporters, actually sat down next to me at the lunch table, and we exchanged a few. I thanked him for all of his votes over the years. So yeah, I mean, I ran into Congressman Sessions last week, and he recognized me from the hat and my issue, and he says, "I'm still not with you on marijuana. Still not there." I said, "But Congressman, even our Governor Perry is in favor of the 10th Amendment for marijuana, states' rights." He says, "Yeah, well, Perry ought to go too. You know, I mean, the Governor Perry should be fired from his job." So again, this is his father was an FBI director, and he will go to his grave continuing marijuana prohibition. It's just in his DNA. It's just the only way to change that is replace the congressman.
Well, we've also got a presidential candidate, maybe, looming in the wings who could be the most detrimental thing to the marijuana movement, Governor Chris Christie.
Well, Governor Christie would certainly keep everything the same. You know, he makes a noise about the war on drugs has failed, that we need to treat this more as a medical issue. He might do that for the harder drugs, but he is absolutely wanting to put people in either behind bars or certainly an arrest record, and that's Governor Christie, and he would continue the federal prohibition. So Governor Perry, love him or hate him, he would, at least for marijuana, say, "Hey, it's a states' rights issue." So on that narrow issue, Governor Perry so far is the first Republican, only Republican, to come out and say, apply the 10th Amendment, apply states' rights. So, and I think in the next 2 years, as the presidential thing heats up, you'll see more people like Governor Perry sign on to states' rights for marijuana and finesse the issue and flush it. And we I tell you, Casper, we in the drug reform, marijuana reform, have dropped the ball these last 6 years with Obama, always asking him the question, would you legalize marijuana? That was always the wrong question. The question should have been, would you sign the bill if the Congress would end federal prohibition of marijuana? President Obama does not need to legalize marijuana. He needs to say, would you sign the bill to allow the states to legalize? And we've always asked the wrong question.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right. Well, with that said, we are going to take a commercial break and pay our bills. And then we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is, and then come back and take a whole lot more time for hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it, yeah.
relax, and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Smoke it in a joint, smoke it in a bong, get right to the point. Eat it in cookies, eat it in cakes, put it in salads, whatever it takes. It's just a plant, harmless weed. It can't kill like alcohol speed. Government don't want you to think for yourself. You might be happy living out well. Legalize freedom, let it ring. Burn a big fat and sit around and say, you don't have to unless you wanna break out that homegrown marijuana. Who cares if y'all just sit around and smile? Peaceful, mellow, high for a while. Fire one up, sit around and smoke. Forget about life, have a cough and a choke. It don't take a lot, you don't need too much. You won't be an addict, it's not a crutch. If you don't wanna burn, well just say no. Stay at my ass, let smoke flow. Legalize freedom, let it ring. Burn a big fat and sit around and sing, y'all. No, you don't have to unless you wanna break out that homegrown marijuana.
That was Rude Moon. That's the name of the group, Rude Moon, with Legalized Freedom here on the big broadcast. I am your host, Casper-Leitch. This is the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network, and you are listening to the Time for Hemp radio show. We are a growing group of people. Last night, Muck Sticky started his show on our network. Next Monday, Joe Grambine starts his show on the network. We got a Japanese group of people who are attempting to do a show on the network. They've done one so far. We'll see if they do any more. And we got other programming that's going to be coming on to the network right around the corner. So make it a point to share us with your friends as you would your favorite joint. It's Wednesday, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. For some reason, we were having technical problems today and could not get a three-way call going on a Skype with Peter Criss and Howard Woodridge. We're not sure what the technical problems were, but Peter decided he would go out and enjoy the woods around his house and have a holiday, and I would do the work of asking questions. And it's exhausting to sit here and smoke a joint and ask questions of a good friend. Hold on. Howard, tell me.
Yeah.
We got almost 25 states, almost half the United States now has some form of either medicinal marijuana that's been legalized in their state, recreational use in their state. So even a couple of states have got the use of hemp, like Kentucky and Tennessee and Indiana and Colorado, where they're starting to grow acreages of hemp to make hemp products. Now, isn't that how we ended prohibition the first time around? One state after another, until finally it was just stupid for the federal boys to do anything other than just go home?
No, that's not how. Alcohol prohibition was in effect nationwide, and the states could not, did not go state by state by state. They had to wait for the 21st Amendment was passed in late 1933, and then suddenly every state had the opportunity to go back to wet. And then in the first year, a couple dozen states in the first year went back to wet and started selling alcohol and making taxes off it. So this is the exact opposite of alcohol prohibition. And I would urge you to, for your listeners, when you're talking about this issue, I certainly do in every congressional and Senate office, I use the number 34. Because 34 is the number of states which have some form of medical marijuana, including the CBD, Charlotte's Web bills. And 34 is a nice number to use. That there's 23 states that have total medical marijuana, is nice, but the number 34 sounds that much better when you're talking to a politician or anybody else. 34 states, 3 Americans and 4, and even Utah has medical marijuana. I mean, that has a nice ring to it.
Yes, it really does. It really does. Now, what states should we be paying attention to this next time around that's going to be important, do you think?
Well, certainly we know that in 14, the 3 important states to watch at this point are going to be, it looks like Oregon is going to be in the ballot, Alaska is for sure, and Florida, with their medical marijuana, is also for sure. If Jody James and her crew down there can flip Florida into the medical marijuana category this November, this will be a big signal to the rest of the country that if you stand in the way of medical marijuana, it may hurt you politically. And so we'll have more converts. I think like Governor Perry finally saw the handwriting on the wall and came out for the 10th Amendment 6 months ago because he saw this as a winner. He may have always felt that way, but he does his political calculus, and due to that, he waited until the time was right for him to declare his support for states' right 10th Amendment on marijuana. And this is what you will see more of in 15 and going into 16 as the politicians figure out they will lose votes if they stand in the way of marijuana legalization.
And what makes you get all excited the most about all of that?
Well, having been at this for 17 years and the last 9 full time, ride my horse across America with the shirt, cops say legalize pot, ask me why. It is wonderful to have the wind so strongly at our back and to see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. I hope I wasn't too negative earlier, but this tunnel has been, marijuana prohibition's out there for 75, 80 years, and we're just now seeing strong light at the end of the tunnel. We can see the end of the tunnel. And now it's just a question of continuing to work hard for the next X years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, to bring it across the finish line here at the federal level. But understand that as marijuana is treated like alcohol, Mississippi did not legalize alcohol until 33 years after the federal government let them. So you're going to see states like Mississippi, like Utah, that probably in the next 20 years will not legalize, regulate, and tax marijuana like a Colorado. You're still going to have these smokeless states, which is it's up to. I'm a big believer in the states choosing their own path. So if you want to smoke legal, then you go to Colorado versus live in Utah, sort of thing.
Now, what did you think when Obama was visiting Denver last Thursday and somebody yelled out, "Hey, you want a toke? You want a hit?" And he just laughed and kept right on walking?
Of course. What's he going to say? If he says yes, he would be breaking federal law and setting a bad example, as a matter of fact, for his 16-year-old daughter. And if he said no, then he might irritate people who think he's now the hypocrite or whatever else. No, laughing it off is the safest political thing to do because he wants a Democrat to be elected president behind him, and he needs to do what he has to do to not upset that apple cart.
All right, now let's change gears a little bit. I'm a little annoyed how the war on drugs has somehow successfully robbed us of our privacy and our freedoms. And it seems like our Congress and our Senate is starting to clamp down on the ability of the government to spy on citizens. Do you see that happening there and what's going on in the Hill, or is that just an illusion?
Well, the issue of the NSA and metadata is, of course, still a topic of discussion every day here on the Hill. This issue is not going away. You've got the Rand Pauls out there and other people who believe in less government intrusion, more personal freedom, and they are not happy with the government. And liberals are unhappy too. It's a Fourth Amendment violation. It's the government. It should not be snooping in our affairs. So the NSA and their minions, who are continuing to collect our phone calls, emails, etc., are the villains of the moment. However, there has been no legislation passed that is really going to slow them down. And the question is, can the folks like Rand Paul go from rhetoric to actually having a bill on the president's desk for him to sign? And therein lies the great problem, as I'm sure all of you are aware of out there, that this Congress is completely dysfunctional on so many levels that getting it on the president's desk will be a miracle in my professional estimation, because it's just Republicans hate Democrats and vice versa, so they just the cross-aisle cooperation approaches a statistical zero.
Well, and then the other thing that the war on drugs has given us that's kind of gotten a little out of control is, and you're a former police officer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you were with Lee. And so we got cops arresting people who are doing peaceful demonstrations, and people are only given like a half-block area to have a peaceful demonstration. And if they step outside of that little half square block, they get arrested. How are the citizens of the United States now going to get their voices heard when even at peaceful demonstrations they're being arrested, and when they try to organize a peaceful demonstration, they are put miles away from where the people who need to hear the message are?
Well, and you're absolutely right in your analysis. In the Supreme Court in the latest session But the abortion case reduced the bubble from 35 feet to 8 feet. Now you can get any closer than 8 feet to an abortion clinic to counsel the women coming in for an abortion. And the irony there, as Jon Stewart pointed out last night, is that the Supreme Court said the bubble for the Supreme Court justices, they're going to and from work, is like 120 feet. So the Supreme Court said in an abortion clinic, you can only have an 8-foot bubble, but the Supreme Court itself has a 120-foot bubble. So they're being not fair, but that's the way the world works. What I would urge your listeners, make a protest every day. I wear my T-shirt, Cops Say Legalize Pot, or you could wear Cops Say Legalize Drugs. Ask me why. I wear it every day. I go to Chipotle's, I go to Subway, I go to the theater, I go to Target, and I wear my T-shirt, and people ask me why all the time, and I'm a walking billboard, and expose people to the idea all the time. And every day I have 3 or 4 people ask me why, and then I can respond about the need to chase pedophiles, not a green plant. And pass out business cards. It's a wonderful way to be active. So for your listeners who want to do this in a serious way, be active every day. And yeah, they're cutting down your ability to protest at a major event like a Democratic convention or Republican convention. But I went to both. I went to Tampa. I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, wearing my T-shirt that is not considered a protest mode. You're just in a T-shirt. And I just stood there, and I had thousands of people go by. I had hundreds take my picture and put it on social media. I was my own one-person demonstration that probably had as much impact, especially on social media, as people who were trying to wave their signs around saying whatever they wanted to say. So that's my solution, is just every day go out there and fly the colors on a T-shirt. And by the way, my wife's been wearing hers on the weekend, and in 4 years of Mom Say Legalize Pot, ask me why, no one has ever been mean to her. Because today you're talking, almost everybody agrees that it should be legalized, regulated, and taxed, or if they don't feel that way, they're too intimidated to go up here and say, you're a horrible person for wearing a T-shirt like that. So be an activist every day. Don't wait every couple of months or every couple of years to have a rally.
Well, with that said, we're going to have a rally to pay our bills. We're going to take a commercial break and say thank you to our sponsors. And then we're going to come back and pick up where we left off right here on Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP card holder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor. So come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it.
relax, and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com. Or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
Yes, stay alert with consciousness. Be responsible. That's what we are always encouraging. People go, oh, you're a marijuana activist. You want everybody to be able to get high. It was like, well, that's part of it. I want them to have their medical cannabis available to them without them being considered criminals. I want to be able to research the effects of medical marijuana on various diseases. I want to be able to grow the plant for all the 50,000 different products we can use as human beings to make our lives better and make the economy stronger. And just like if you were using, liquor or sugar, I would want you to use it responsible. Like if you're a diabetic, don't buy 2 Hershey bars, dumbass. And if you're going to have 4 shots of tequila, don't get into the car and drive my kids to a hockey game. And if you're going to smoke your medical marijuana, please, for God's sake, don't, after you put that joint out, get into the cockpit of an airplane and fly my mom and dad across the United States. Be responsible. That ends my rant for the day. Yesterday, it was released in the press that the Obama administration believes marijuana policy is a states' right issue, as we say in Indiana, issue. The White House said Monday in opposing Republican-led legislation. What do they mean by Republican-led legislation? We'll talk about that in a minute. That would prevent Washington, D.C. from using local funds to decriminalize marijuana possession. The GOP-sponsored House amendment would prevent D.C. from using its own local funds to carry out locally passed marijuana policies, which, again, undermines the principles of states' rights and of district home rule, the White House said in a statement. The White House said the bill poses legal challenges to Metropolitan Police Department of all marijuana laws currently in force in the district. Well, I can tell you, when these police officers and when these members of the Congress and when these members of the Senate are pondering what to do on these bills, when they go home at night or when they get up in the morning and go to work, they drive by a medical marijuana dispensary in the District of Washington, where they can have legal medical marijuana if they have a license, and yet they're going into their offices and making sure nobody else can. That's stupid! Help me with this. Get my mind around this, please. I'm stuck here. I'm lost on hold, Howard. What's wrong with this picture?
Well, this is Alice in Wonderland. You've gone down, when you enter the Congress, you go down a rabbit hole. And everything is backwards and doesn't make any sense. But hey, listen, I wanted to point out that when I talked earlier about the T-shirt thing, a lot of people are uncomfortable wearing the leaf shirt of Cops Say Legalize Drugs. So I would urge your listeners to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Go to the website of a small organization I found, COPS, citizensopposingprohibition.org. On the homepage, you'll see 4 people in a T-shirt that says, Cops Say Legalize Pot, Moms, Dads, and Nurses. You can customize your shirt, and those shirts, you get any T-shirt maker in your city for about $30-odd will make you a shirt. And as you see, it's on the front and the back. Like the T-shirt for Leaf is only on the back, which is a mistake, and they've corrected that. But get it in the front and back and show the colors and talk about it every day. About $30 at a local T-shirt shop. But go to citizensopposingprohibition.org, and that'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about.
Okay. Now, one thing we talked about yesterday, and it was Labor Secretary Robert Reich. I was wrong when I thought who said it. The urgent humanitarian situation caused by Central American immigrants flooding into the United States on the southern borders is a result of the drug war we've created, according to former U.S. Labor Secretary Robert Reich. Most unaccompanied, it says here, most unaccompanied minors are refugees from the drug war we've created, and there are more than 40,000 coming in each month. Really? What's up with this?
It's a little high. It's not quite that high. It's more like a little less than 10,000 a month, but it's increasing. So who knows?
So what are we going to do with all these kids? And is this true? What are their parents being murdered in the drug war, or are these kids being sent over here as drug mules? What's the deal? Why are these kids just showing up here on our doorstep?
Well, they started showing up about 3 years ago as the cartels were taking over Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador as a transit point for the cocaine and heroin coming out of South America. It was much easier to operate in these small countries and corrupt and kill the local officials than to operate out of Mexico. So that's why they've switched to these Central American countries. And what's happening is these gangs, these cartels need people, warm bodies to literally move the cocaine out of one airplane and into another. And so they are threats. If you don't join the gang and help us with moving the cocaine, we'll kill you. So parents are saying, and Honduras today has the highest murder rate in the world. So this is not fantasy. This is a real problem. And Robert Reich is correct. These are drug war refugees, a term almost nobody else is using. I'm trying hard to get the Congress to use it and others. But and they're not immigrants. And they should not call them illegal immigrants or whatever. These are true war refugees, just like the people coming out of Syria, people coming out of Iraq, people coming out of Nigeria, coming out of Sudan. These are refugees who are trying to escape the violence and death of being in a war zone. And immigration is a whole other topic. and that I would reduce dramatically immigration in this country. But these are refugees, and these children should be taken in as long as needed until their home country is safe for them to go back to. And I have some small to medium confidence. Notice I didn't use the word hope. Small to medium confidence that the Congress and the country will figure out that taking in 100,000, 200,000 kids who are trying to escape death is the humane and right thing to do. As I said at the United Nations on Monday to that same group, what would Jesus do? And the short answer is he would take them in. And and that's what we should do with those refugees. And I believe that eventually America will stop yelling and screaming about illegals and say, you know what, these are just 10-year-olds. They're not here to swing a hammer.
Well, and also, didn't I read here recently that the Mexican government and at least the president of Mexico is now considering making changes in their policies on the war on drugs?
Well, as a matter of fact, the United Nations conference I went to on Monday, two things. One, for all your listeners, you'll love this. It was reported by their official government person that today Colorado marijuana has penetrated the Mexican market. It's taking away market share from the growers of marijuana in Mexico. And Colorado weed is competing very well with against Mexican ditchweed. So that's just a kind of an interesting sidebar. But yes, indeed, the Mexican government announced to this gentleman Monday at the United Nations that I went to that the Mexican government is looking for a robust discussion on the issue of legalization. At this moment, they're against it, but they are totally in favor of a discussion. And I asked them to do a study and ask member states around the world ask the question: is what's killing more, causing more pain, suffering, and death? The use of drugs or the prohibition of those drugs? And the moderator was not wanting to answer he was reluctant to say who's going to answer that one. And in fact, all three members of the panel answered the question and said, yes, we need studies. We need research to see which is causing more pain, suffering, and death. Of course, you and I know it is the prohibition causing massively more pain, suffering, and death than the use of the drugs themselves.
Good Lord. Well, I'll tell you, you should get an education up there in the hill, don't you?
You do, for better or for worse. I mean, I know a lot, and sometimes it makes you depressed because I know very definitively, and Keith Strauss of NORML said it a couple of years ago, we were 7 to 10 years out on the Hill to end marijuana prohibition. And he was 7 years is probably right. And now 7 years is now only like 4 or 3, but this does not happen in Capitol Hill in a hurry, not even close.
Well, that's the other thing that I saw Hillary on TV last night, and she said it right, I think, that our Congress and our Senate and even the White House really needs to get more up to date and up to times, that our inability to move quickly in the Congress and the Senate to make new regulation and new rules and stay up to date has a lot to do with our failure to embrace new technologies. Is that true?
Short answer is that's beyond my pay grade. Certainly we've seen examples in the Veterans Administration where they still use paper files. If you've seen Jon Stewart, he's been showcasing this for the last 5 years. And the Congress it simply is not reacting well to the needs of places like the Veterans Administration that need new computers. But that's way past my pay grade. But it's symptomatic. I would say it is symptomatic of the fact that many of the congressmen still have their heads in the 20th century on the issue of drug prohibition. And again, between their heads in the sand and the last century, and they don't want to talk about it. We're doing the best we can. But if your listeners all know it, there's only 3 full-time lobbyists for this issue on the Hill. Myself, representing COPS, Citizens Opposing Prohibition.org, DPA, Drug Policy Alliance, and NPP, Marijuana Policy Club. There's 3 of us to handle 535 offices. We're doing the best we can, but we are woefully underfunded. I mean, ASA, Americans for Safe Access, they don't have a full-time rep. LEAP does not have a full-time rep. Normal has never had a full-time rep here since I've been here 9 years. I mean, we are overworked and understaffed, but we're making progress. But that's how the priorities are different.
Wow.
That's my rant, by the way. I'm
Okay.
annoyed that these major organizations, which have 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 employees, don't have a full-time lobbyist advocate on the Hill. This is the playground. This is the playpen where it all happens. Has to start to change the nation and change the world. That's why I'm going to the United Nations, because I've got some contacts now. If I can share my will at a later broadcast, I got some folks in the embassies around here I've met to get a concerted law enforcement effort to say, we, the police departments of the world, the professionals of the world, say your prohibition war on drugs has been and always will be a catastrophic failure. Try something else. And I'm doing what I can to further that. But again, there's only 3 of us. I mean, and I should have. Okay, there's one. Ben Draws does hemp, industrial hemp. And God bless him. He works very, very hard. Very competent young man. But that if you include hemp, that makes a total of 4. It's pitiful.
That is, and you think Normal would be up there, High Times would be underwriting the cost, that there would be a handful of small organizations that were pulling their funds together to help underwrite the cost of a lobbyist? I don't get that. A brand new guy, been here about 6 months, Michael Correa, is a great advocate, a lobbyist. He works for the Marijuana Industrial Council, where there's some nice name to it. But he works on strictly helping out current and potential owners of dispensaries and storefronts to sell marijuana, and he does a great job. But he would make 5. I apologize. He came on board about 6 months ago. But still, why isn't ASA out here? Why is LEAP not represented in the halls of Congress with a full-time advocate? I mean, Normal, never. And they make 1 or 2 visits on the Hill, but to walk up and down the hallways like I do and go to every office, there's a grand total of 5 of us. Yeah, wow. Whereas other industries have like an army of lobbyists.
The drug companies, the last count I had, the drug companies, which are my second biggest opponent behind law enforcement, have 600 lobbyists, Casper.
God bless.
The police unions and the police forces around here have roughly 25 to keep the money coming to go beat up on Willie Nelson, Snoop Lion, and Cheech and Chong. And our side has a grand total of 5, including industrial hemp. And we said twice that number, and we don't. And that's just a question of where do you want to put your priorities and your money. And it's painful for me to know how much more could we do. Like me sitting down today with Congressman Nadler of New York. I mean, you just run into people, and you get to talk to them for 2 minutes about your issue. And a lot of this is just putting that back in front of them. They see me coming, the tall cowboy with a big hat. They know that guy is the marijuana man. He rides a horse, and he wants to legalize drugs. I mean, it's just this is what is needed, is to put this issue in front of these congressmen and their offices, once a month. But as it is, I make it to each office, twice a year, and the others, who knows, that much or less.
So basically,
so like I say, I should stop ranting.
We're down to the last couple of minutes, but basically, it would just help if everybody behaved as a lobbyist every time they saw a member of their Senate or their Congress, and made it a point to at least once a month contact their members of Senate and Congress and do so in the same way a lobbyist would. Correct?
Absolutely. Look, your audience, living, let's say, Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's an office in Fort Wayne for your local congressman. You can make an appointment. It takes usually about 2 weeks. You can go in there, put on a coat and tie or a dress or whatever, and go in and talk to them about marijuana prohibition for, like I do, for 15, 20 minutes. Anybody can do it, and these people welcome you into their congressional and Senate offices back in your state. So there is no excuse for all of you out there in Radio Land not to do what I do. The difference is here, as I look down the hallway, I can see 7 offices looking down the hallway. So it's easy for me to go from one to the other to the other. But once a year, to go to your local congressman's office and say, why is it still illegal at the federal level? Why is it not a states' rights issue? You and all your audience can do that, once a year, and it would make an impact back here in Washington, D.C. We need people to tell the congressman this is important. And even if your congressman is a muffin head and always voted against us, do it anyway.
All right, give a shout out. Give a shout out to your organization and any events. We got to wrap it up here.
Well, citizensopposingprohibition.org, 501c3, tax-deductible gifts. If you want to keep me going up and down the hallways of Congress, please look at the homepage and donate. Take a look at those T-shirts. And certainly we love LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, LEAP.cc, to keep the police voice all over the country testifying, et cetera, to end this horrible, most destructive, dysfunctional, and immoral policy since slavery and Jim Crow.
And as Peter would say, bad things happen when good people do nothing. And as I say, Tomorrow is Paul Stanford joining us as the joint host, and we'll be talking about what's going on here across the big United States and how it affects the world. And Fridays, Michael Krowitz and I put a spotlight on a hardworking activist in a small town somewhere on the planet here on Time for Hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all